Hey everyone, I just wanted to point out that this episode was recorded in June before the recent announcement by Telus of office closures in Ontario and a return to office directive for nearly 1,000 at-home agents across the country. Obviously that's a big issue and the whole union is standing behind Local 1944. I'm proud that our union stands up to companies like Telus. We're challenging their anti-worker, anti-Canadian tactics. Shame on Telus for trying to bully their workforce and continuing to offshore and contract out our work. Solidarity, we're standing with you. Hello, and welcome to episode 12 of the Strongest Steel Podcast. I was just told that this is our season finale. This will be 12 months of podcast, Strongest Steel Podcast. So excited about that. Before we start, I'm Scott Lenny. I'm the director for District 3 of the United Steelworkers, which is the 4 Western provinces and the Northern Territories in Canada. And here in Brett's office, we are on the traditional unceded stolen lands of the Coast Salish people, in particular the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And we acknowledge that those peoples have been here for a long time, longer than the colonizers have, and that we need to acknowledge that and work collectively and individually towards reconciliation with those nations and Indigenous people across our country. We got 3 guests today from 3 different local unions, recently elected and re-elected officers of their local unions, and we're going to have a conversation with them just about what's going on in those local unions and what the opportunities are, what the challenges are, what's coming up, anything that's on their mind, and kind of go from there. So rather than me attempting to introduce them, I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we'll get right into it. Season finale of the Strongest Steel Podcast. Super pumped about it. A whole season, 12 episodes. Anyway, I'll just start on my right with Tamara.
Hi, I'm Tamara Marshall. I'm a servicing rep and the FinSec for Local 2009. We are an amalgamated local based out of Langley, BC, and have units all throughout the Lower Mainland, work sites on the island, and a couple in Prince George as well.
Cool. Over to Michael.
Hey, I'm Michael Phillips. I'm the new president of Local 1944 since May. And Local 1944, we operate in 4 provinces, BC, Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec. And we're mainly telecom. So 95% of our membership is employed at Telus, but we have a few other certs as well. So
you're supposed to cue the applause, Tyler and Jeremy, when he's the newly elected president, no? Yeah, there you go. See. Yeah, it's our tech people, okay. Tyler and Jeremy. Okay. There you go. Okay.
That's enough.
That's enough of that. Okay, Mitch. We've got Mitch online.
My name's Mitch Winterton. I'm the newly elected president for Local 7106 out of Flin Flon, Manitoba. Our local spans as far down south as Neepawa, and with some units down up in the north in Norway House, Cross Lake, and the surrounding area.
Cool. And he should get applause too. Newly elected president. Yeah.
Well done.
There we go.
Thank you.
Woohoo. Woohoo. That's the live studio audience, just in case anyone's wondering.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, actually all 3 of your locals are what Tamara said is amalgamated locals. So does anybody want to explain what that is? No.
So an amalgamated local is one that comes together from mergers of existing standalone locals. And you take on their rules, you take on their units, you take on their CBAs, and you continue to build and move from there.
Okay, yeah. And so in 2009's case, there was a bunch of locals over time, but that in 2009, 2 of them had amalgamated from the former IWA and one from the former steelworkers, and made Local 2009. I think the 1944, I guess, was a national union that merged into the steelworkers, and so didn't really amalgamate any locals, but had multiple contracts, multiple employers. And Mitch, your guys' local came from a little bit of both, I think, right? A bit of a merger, but also just some groups that were organized right into 7106, which historically was just the mine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we had quite a few. I think we have 11 or 12 extra, 11 units that are with our local.
In addition to
ourselves.
the mine, yeah, right. And you're out of the mine. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I work for Hud Bay Minerals up in the north here.
Yeah, that's good. And Michael, you're out of Telus.
Yeah, and so like most of the local is Telus, but we do have 6 certifications, so we're an amalgamated local in that sense. And then also when we first merged, we were told we were amalgamated because we crossed provincial boundaries. So we're actually like a national local, right? So a lot of the things that a more localized local could do, like having monthly meetings and stuff like that with whole membership, we can't really do that. So we fall under the amalgamated bylaws and everything. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And there we have, just FYI, there are 3 national locals in Canada. Local 1944, Local 1976, which has some transportation, like couriers, some airline workers, things that are federally regulated, and Local 2004, which is primarily I think solely the maintenance of way workers on CN Rail. So,
and there are definitely special challenges with that, right? Because like, we're so spread out. I mean, not only are we cross-provincial, but just the nature of telecom, even our Telus members are like throughout BC, small communities throughout BC. We've got different units with like 12, 20 members. And so evolving ways of keeping folks connected, whether it's through WhatsApp or, Zoom meetings regularly, or having our big convention every 3 years, because we can't have a membership meeting every month, but at least every 3 years we bring everybody together. Well, we really always have to strategize how to keep everybody engaged and networking when we're so spread out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7106 feels the pain on that one too, with having to, travel quite a bit to get down to see our other units and stuff like that. So yeah, we understand the difficulty of that as well.
Yeah, and some of the distances, although you're all in, your whole local Mitch is in, it's in Manitoba, and it's not spread out nationally, but some of the distances you got to go. Like, how far is it from Flin Flon to Norway House?
It's about a 4.5-5 hour drive to get down there,
and it's not on the Trans-Canada Highway either.
No, it's not on the greatest of roads. Some of them are even gravel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like in 2009, we have many different units all over, varied industries. So we police and we take care of approximately 80 different collective agreements. So you can imagine how busy that is. We're constantly in bargaining cycles. We have 4 full-time officers of the local, and so we do our roles under the Constitution and the bylaws. And then we also service those 80 collective agreements. So it's constant JLMs, bargaining, grievance meetings, and we're really trying to focus on member engagement where we're going out to them, not having them come to us, because we know it's difficult. Everybody's very busy lives, and so if we're able to go to work site, we throw barbecues and talk to our members and do trivia and just general face-to-face discussions so that they're part of our union and that we listen to them. So,
for sure. And Michael, I know in 1944 there's been a real push for member engagement over the years, and I'm sure moving forward you're going to continue that. What are some of the things that you all have been doing to engage engage the members?
Yeah. So, I mean, we were really struggling a few years ago with engagement, and especially when COVID hit and everybody was sent home, right? So we realized that we really needed to move our engagement digitally, especially with everybody working from home. And so we ended up creating different WhatsApp groups for each unit. So we actually have 38 units of our whole local. And so we made sure that every one of them had a WhatsApp group. We even booked folks off the job to call everybody, call members to invite them into the WhatsApp groups, right? Because, there's a certain group of people that will just receive an email and say, hey, that's a good idea. Let me join that group. But then a lot of folks, you have to call them, and you have to maybe call them a couple times, right? And so that was very successful to actually book folks off the job to make those calls. And then we coordinated all those WhatsApps through Slack. I think D3 still uses Slack or has been using Slack. And so that's kind of been the sort of hub of all those chats. And that's helped a lot. We have some folks that are booked off full time. And I've actually never heard of this in any other locals, but we started this a few years ago where we've booked some members off full time for like 6 months or a year at a time to be what we call engagers. And they are just in charge of constantly reaching out to unit officials, constantly reaching out to members, and just making sure that that connection exists between the local office and the units and the membership in whatever way possible. So, everybody has like local reps or staff reps that do grievances and arbitrations, but we decided that we needed a full-time position just on engagement, right? And so now we actually have 3 people booked off at the moment doing that. So that's really helped. And we can see it in our unit meeting attendance and in bargaining participation. Even how many people vote on our collective agreements is just way higher than it's been in the past. So
that's good. Yeah, that's such a good idea that that I'm stealing it for the district, and we've got somebody we're trying to get booked off right now to go around to the Starbucks stores in Alberta and really just literally do that, like go around and talk to people and phone people and text people and whatever for a few months just to try to get folks engaged. One of the things that this is just my curiosity, and I'm not talking about the glitch in the texting program, but I remember that there used to be many people may have got a 5-minute warning or 15-minute warning to join a unit meeting for 1944 in Grand Prairie. So I gather a meeting.
A lot of people showed up.
I gather you're still doing that though, and I thought that was a great idea that you get a text that says, hey, your unit meeting is starting, because it's online. It was Zoom. Your unit meeting's starting in 15 minutes or whatever. And, I thought, does that work?
Oh, yeah. No, we noticed.
When it's not sent out to the whole,
it works too well.
The whole union
in some cases. We put that in place a couple years ago, maybe like 3 years ago. And we noticed immediately about a doubling of unit meeting attendance. We actually pulled the stats because we were curious how well it affected things, and just about double to put that out using the CNO's texting service. And we still do that.
Yeah. A lot of that is, obviously in the membership in 1944 is, probably typically a little more tech savvy than maybe some of our other members. Mitch, I know you got miners and mill workers and generally folks that are in remote communities and in northern Manitoba. I don't know. What do you think, how are things around engaging and communication between your units?
We do utilize that mass texting program we have one set up for each of our units, which we find is a good way of at least distributing information. But as for the engagement, it's my position is full-time funded by the company I work for. So we don't really have a lot of people that are able to go around and engage the community. So we have our unit chairs that we train up and get them to go out and try to engage the people in their areas and stuff like that. And then Tom, when he was president, would go out, and same with with me. I try to get out and get into these communities, into the different workplaces, just to put a face to the name, especially with the new election and everything, and try to engage the members that way.
And to be, I suspect I know the answer to this, but if you call a meeting, what's the kind of attendance? Probably not huge.
Not the greatest. And I'm actually looking forward to the District 3 conference coming up, where there's some good workshops there that I'm going to be taking, which will hopefully, maybe spark some ideas that I can bring back to the local and try to up attendance and just kind of build the local a little bit better up in the north here.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, though, I don't think we have the solution to getting everyone to show up to union meetings.
I know.
But
if there's some good ideas,
there's lots of ideas, and some work and some don't in varying degrees. And I think it's like anything else. It's a you got to employ a range of things to try to involve people and engage people.
Yeah, like there's some folks that will just attend Zoom meetings. And some that have no interest in anything digital. They, if they can't see the whites of your eyes, they're not showing up, right? And I mean, we've even noticed, like in our Telus cert, like we've got a lot of call center workers, but we also have a lot of techs. And I don't want to stereotype or anything, but like the call center workers that are used to looking at a screen all day, they'll show up for the Zoom meetings. A lot of our craft workers, they want a barbecue. Like they'll show up for a barbecue in the kind of numbers that our call center folks will only show up to a Zoom meeting for, right? So, just throwing as many methods out there as possible seems to work, because something different works for different people. So.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you always feed them, then
food.
Food always brings people in, and really we ask our members like what they need. We've tried different things. So typically we have an exec board meeting the third Saturday of every month except for July and August. And, we tried different times. Some of our members were saying that they have, family obligations. So we do a hybrid of Zoom and in person. And we've reached out to our members that if they require childcare, like we'll bring someone into the hall to mind your children so that you can be involved in your union, and looking at other committees and get more involvement that way. One thing our members told us that really mental health is a big issue. Certainly we see it in all our workplaces. So we started a peer-to-peer support group where we've had members step forward with different life experiences to be able to be there to support their fellow members. And so we think that's a good positive thing for member engagement, and really to just let people know that your union is here for you. And we're just not there when it's time to bargain and we'll see you in 3 years, right? You need to keep them involved.
Yeah, for sure. We just did a survey, and I don't want to, I don't have I'm not the
numbers guy?
I'm not the one to tell you what the results of the survey are and what they all mean. I need to get somebody to do a bit of a report on that. But I did read the survey, and, there is, there's a lot of our members that say, the number one priority for them is, bargaining and representation and grievances and things like that are, obviously rank way up there. But there is like a ton of other issues that our members in that survey said are important to them and are important for our union to assist them with. Mental health made me think of that, because that's one of the things that was in the list of things. But what struck me is we know our core is bargaining and whatever, but there's members have like so many other things that they would either like or expect their union to respond on, or to be there for them on, or to provide support or education on. And, I think that's great. Those are all opportunities to engage people in the union, but that's also a huge challenge to figure out what those things are and what things are going to work and how they're going to work in order to engage people. So I don't know. That's not a question or anything. That's just me. I was reading that survey a couple of days ago, and the mental health thing popped into my head, because it ranks up there, but it's, I don't know. Is that something that every local needs? I don't know. And does it work? Like, it's great that you're doing that. We'll find out how well that works, and if it's successful, that's a best practice we can share with other locals.
Certainly, we've seen and we've heard from our members that, like, the EFAP programs that the employers have, and that we try to negotiate that there's support for them, they really find them lacking.
Mm-hmm.
So they come to their union saying, help.
Well,
Right?
we're the ones that care, right? Like,
Exactly.
often, especially if the employer is your mental health problem, which is very often the case, you don't really want to use the employer's mental health
No, because you don't have trust.
system.
That,
You don't have trust, and also
confidence.
screw them. Like, you'd rather do something through your union or personally, right? And I don't want to dissuade people from using any resources that they have made available to them, but we have to be mindful of the fact that, people should have more trust in their union than their employer, because we've got their interests at heart. And fundamentally, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this, myself in my new role. And I think a union is fundamentally a group of people that care about each other, a group of workers that care about each other. And the things that we do, like grievance and arbitration, that kind of derive from that those are ways of assisting people. But the core of solidarity, or whatever you want to call it, engagement or whatever, is that we are workers that care about each other, and anything that we can do to help each other, we should be doing. So yeah, I love that. I've actually not heard about that peer support group, and I'm curious about how that was set up and what its kind of mandate is. But I think if a union is going to be successful, we need folks to look to the union as their family, right? Like that's why we call each other brother and sister and all that, right? So it's not just a funny habit or a tradition. Like, the strongest unions have that bond. Our strongest units in 1944 have that sense of, like, you're going to go to the meeting not just to hear about the latest grievances, but because you're going to see all your friends there. You're going to break bread. You're going to care about each other and be cared about, right? So anything we can do in that direction makes sense, and we're in a unique position compared to employers or even some professionals to be able to provide authentic care for people that we actually know and work with often and care about, right? So
yeah, for sure. That's twice now. So always remember, the two things I know is if you're doing, and this is union or political, is thank people for their contribution as many times as possible, and feed them. And that's the only two things I know. I don't know anything else, but I know that. Thank people and feed them, and you'll probably do.
You'll do all right.
People might come back if you thank them and you feed them. But I don't know, Mitch. What do you think about some of that stuff? I know, I like in many ways more so than with Michael and Tamara. Like the Union Hall actually is a centerpiece in the community. I mean, I've been to your Union Hall's right on Main Street. I don't know if it's called Main Street, but the main street in Flin Flon. Yeah. And so.
Yeah. Like, we've seen a rise in the mental health and the people coming to the union and looking for the help that they're not getting through the employers' programs and stuff. So we do what we can through the union. I know a few of our executive members, they've taken mental health first aid, training courses like that, which helps with certain situations. And I mean, it's right on Main Street. You got to go by it every day. So, I mean, you get a lot of foot traffic through here. And we had a big fire, I want to say a couple months ago. And this place, because there was no communications, this place was a hub. We had everybody coming in and out of here, and it was actually really nice to see. But we just try to offer that support to any and all the members that are reaching out to us at any time. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. It was not great that you lost internet and had a fire and everything, but it's great that the union hall becomes that center. And, that's the way it was in the days when unions were founded. I mean, it was very much more, unions were very much more industry based and community based. And the union hall was a community center more than
it was
as much as an
hub.
Office, right?
Yeah, community hub for sure.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you said that, Mitch, about getting mental health first aid for your executive. That's one thing that we're trying to negotiate into collective agreements, is that along with the health and safety committee that we get employers to pay for training for mental health first aid attendance at work sites because, we spend so much time at work, and I've seen many times where, incidents, they come up at work. And so to have someone there to support you is important.
Definitely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and to recognize the signs that you need help and to tell you, because sometimes, and especially as a union activist, you're used to focusing on others and not even looking in the mirror sometimes, right? So you need somebody to help you out.
Hold the mirror up to your face and say, hey.
You're exhibiting the signs I learned about.
Yeah. And, I think one of the reasons that we're looking to do some of that stuff is like the stigma of mental health issues is hopefully continuing to lessen, and that more people are coming forward when they have mental health issues and not ignoring it or not hiding it. But also something you mentioned, Michael, and is around employee and family assistance programs. And I really don't think what we have today, and this is like maybe a longer discussion that I'm not trying to have right now, but I don't think what we have today in terms of, just contracted out employee and family assistance programs to, Morneau Chappelle and all these folks is what was really intended when people came up with the idea of employee and family assistance programs. It really was intended to be more of a community, more of a closer to home based thing where you would go talk to somebody who would then connect you to the appropriate care in your community, not a call center wherever the hell the Morneau Chappelle call centers are. Not to pick on Morneau Chappelle, but they're good to get picked on. There's other companies that really you're just calling like a call center somewhere, and there's not that really like personal connection that I think employee and family assistance programs were supposed to have. Anyway, that's just
it's more of them looking up resources for you, like in the Red Book, and saying, okay, here's counseling.
They're probably just Googling it on the other end. Like, I don't mean to be crass, but they're probably just taking the call and Googling, what's a and that's not really the kind of support that I think we expect our members to get, right? Is like
they deserve much better.
Yeah, something more customized. Although again, I don't think we want to discourage folks from using any resources that they have available. But have you ever heard of social stewards? Ever heard of that concept? I know it's really big in Quebec.
It's a Quebec thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a Quebec thing. I don't really know why it's still only a Quebec thing, because I remember hearing about it like 10 years ago or so, and it's still mainly in Quebec. But as far as I understand the concept, it is having basically stewards, but rather than stewards that focus on grievances, they're focusing on bridging that gap between members and resources in the community for mental health and for health and for anything else that might be going wrong in their lives. And so actually getting trained up on that and being that connection, and still maybe the resources end up being third party, but at least you've got someone that knows you, that cares about you, that kind of knows your situation and can kind of help guide you towards what you need. That's a more of a personal kind of touch that people need when they're in trouble like that, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I want to shift a little bit to just, like newly elected, newly reelected, or in different positions than you were before in your locals. I guess the broad question is, what do you see coming up in the next couple of years, or in the next 3 years? I guess you're on 3-year terms, or just under 3 years left in your term. What do you see coming up in the local? What do you have planned? Is there anything in particular that you're going to try and bring to your local or lead your local through, or is there any challenges? I don't know. What do you think? We'll start with you, Mitch.
Well, the next 3 years, I really want to get more member engagement happening, better attendance with meetings, stuff like that. I know when we do stuff in the community, we usually get a pretty good, like our barbecues. We usually have one in a couple of our units. We do the York boat races up in Norway House, which is usually a really good turnout. But yeah, for the next 3 years, I want to send the support to all the units that we have in our local, and kind of build them up and get them, feeling a lot better about their solidarity within their own locals. Yeah, and we've got quite a few fresh people on our executive, so it's a bit of a learning curve. We have 4 brand new people to our executive. We have a lot of people kind of shifted around in the other positions. I was in a lower position before I took over as president. So there's a bit of adjusting still going on, but we hope to have a plan set out where we can kind of get these units a little more self-sufficient. It's where they're getting the support from kind of the home local here in Flin Flon, but they're also able to deal with their problems without having, to wait on us to be able to get down there or get our time off, stuff like that. So that's kind of going forward. We got a lot of ideas we're thinking about doing, and I'm working close with my VP on this one, Scott Eastman, and we're trying to set up a plan to make that happen.
Big E, yeah, that's good. Okay.
Yeah,
Big E. Okay, that's good. We were, I saw him. Well, I saw you, I guess, recently in Thompson at the King Minor Conference.
Awesome.
I thought Big E might compete, but he just didn't seem like he had it in him. Michael, what do you got? What do you think's ahead for you? I know there's lots of challenges in the Telus telecom world. So
yeah, well, I mean, one major challenge is that Telus is shrinking our membership. They're constantly offering what are called VSPs, voluntary severance packages, to our members, basically paying them to leave their jobs. That goes along with a whole bunch of pressure. I would call it threats, basically, where like if you don't take this package, who knows what your job's going to be in the future, whether you'll be redeployed in a different location, any kind of message that would incentivize somebody to take a package. That seems to be what's coming from management, and it's been working. So we lost about 1,600 members in the last year. So that's huge for us, right? The answer to that is organizing, and I can't really go into a whole lot of detail as far as what our targets are for organizing or our tactics, but we're definitely pouring a lot of resources and time and planning into that. And I think I'll just have to leave the organizing bit there because everything else is kind of strategic. But that's a big focus of ours to regain some membership. And otherwise, I mean, a big focus is going to be, just like Mitch was saying, it's engagement. We've got, and it's always been a struggle, as I was saying before, having such a spread out membership that you don't want the company or any of our employers to be able to pitch one group of workers against the other. Any sort of idea developing like, okay, we're really solid in this part of the country, but maybe not so much in another part of the country or different work groups. So we really want to bring members from all provinces together and all work groups together, whether it is through events that we're sending folks to, because we're sending folks to tons of conferences for them to be able to network and learn. We actually had more people apply to go to the Justice Conference than we've ever had apply to any conference, even back when we had double our membership. Mm-hmm. So, we have the engagement, but we're putting the resources in to bring people together. Just last week, we started 2 national steward chats, one for our craft members, one for our call center members. So that kind of thing. Not only is it educational, but it lets folks know that they're experiencing the same thing no matter where in the country they are or what employer they are. So when we ask people to put up their hand to support each other in bargaining, they know, yeah, this person is experiencing the same thing I'm experiencing. They're going to support me. I'm going to support them. So we've got a lot of plans to go in that direction.
Solidarity, right? Yeah. That's the definition. So more people applied for the Justice Conference than the District 3 Conference?
Yeah. Well, no, the canvas is still out. The canvas is still out for District 3.
Okay, because
and I see the emails rolling in.
Yeah.
So
if you need, I'll come and talk it out.
Shake the tree.
Yeah. We need District 3 Conference in October. In Winnipeg. Beautiful Winnipeg. October in Winnipeg is beautiful. Everybody should come to the District 3 Conference. Anyway, Tamara, what's the future in 2009?
Future in 2009, we take really our initiatives and direction from our members at our ADMs. So this year really
annual delegated meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Remember the acronym?
Yes, I know.
Michael was good about
annual delegated meeting in which we had this last March, And so the big topics coming out of there is member engagement, organizing, and mental health. So we're focusing on all those things. Organizing, we recently have a couple new certifications. Anderson Pacific, which was a non-union mill. So that's about 40 new members there, and working on getting their first collective agreement. And we recently took on prisoners' legal services. So we also have the chaplains that work in the federal and provincial prisons across Canada. So those are our members, and now the legal support. And so I've been speaking with the sisters and that unit and working on engagement and getting a first collective agreement for them as well. So, like I spoke about before, like the peer-to-peer support, looking at mental health supports within our workplaces and our union. So, yeah, lots of work going on.
That's a lot. And, and when you think about all that stuff that you're all, looking at doing and looking at building on in your locals, and you're doing it in addition to, bargaining the contracts, dealing with the grievances, dealing with the arbitrations and the day-to-day stuff, it's a ton of stuff that's in front of you. So, good on you for having plans beyond just, keeping the ship afloat, right? Because, that's a big enough challenge as it is sometimes. So, a lot of that stuff I think applies across all of our locals. It's, certainly a lot of what you all are talking about resonates with me in terms of trying to do what we do across the district, right? Like a big geographic area, a bunch of local unions, trying to do that same thing. Engage, keep people engaged in the bigger union, let people know that they're together with other folks. They got common experiences, learning from each other, bringing people together. And, I think as much as we can do that at every level of the union, we're making progress. And I always say the union is it's one of those things that we're never going to get there. We just have to keep going and keep moving forward and stuff like that. Like if we ever think that we've got, everything's perfect, we're probably wrong, first of all. And it means we're just sitting still, and we're going to, even if we've got it almost right, they're just going to pass us by if we're not pushing harder. So appreciate hearing all that. It's great stuff. I think we're going to try to wrap up. I saw a bit of a warning. I haven't got the wrap up sign yet, but I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure it's coming. So I just want to say, I appreciate you all coming on, and I'm really actually excited about a bunch of the stuff that you're talking about doing in your locals, and hopefully other locals are listening. But I'm going to give you all, a minute or two to just say anything else that you want to say, or wrap up, or make any other comments you got. I know I see Tamara's got notes, so if there's something that you can cover in your notes, and I'm sure Michael has notes, he's just not got them out in front of him. But
anyway, all up there.
No, it's over there. It's over 3 feet away, just in case I need to reach.
Maybe we'll make Michael. Why don't you go first? Just anything else you wanted to add?
One thing I'll say is I'm super happy that we just got a new certification in the last month with Securitas. So that's a bunch of security technicians in the Lower Mainland of BC and in Victoria. And they're an amazing group. I've met with them 3 times in the last month. They really want to get going. So I love their enthusiasm. We're meeting every week. And just solid folks. It's actually kind of interesting because they're new to the union, and they're new to the movement in general, but they have such a deep care for one another that they absolutely already talk like unionists. And even I threw out the word solidarity, and they were all rah rah, like they are up on the lingo and everything. And it just kind of goes to show even though there's a large portion of the working class that are not unionized, but they've got the mentality for it. They've got the, camaraderie with their coworkers. All they need is a union, right? All they need is to reach out or to be reached out to. So, like I said, that's going to be a push for our local. But I'm very proud already of our new Securitas members for their support for each other and for the union, and I think we're going to get a great agreement for them. So
that's great. Yeah, I think I said this last month in the podcast. You all weren't there, but I think I said the most engaged the most engaged and energized folks is when they just organize. It's remarkable. And then so many of our members didn't go through that process too of organizing their workplace into a union and experiencing the process of having to come together, support each other against the employer and join a union, form a union, make a union. And, not that we want everyone to have to go through that all the time, but, it does bring people together, and it does, motivate them and energize them. And that's great. And I know in EDT, I think we got a first contract there, but that was a pretty engaged group, I think, when they were first organized too, which is also security, telecom security kind of industry. So that's good news. That's great. Mitch, how about you? Closing comments.
I guess one other thing I didn't really touch on was, we're actually looking at doing a little bit more organizing up here in the north too. There's a couple potential things that might be coming down the pipe. So we're excited to do that as well. And it's nice that we ended up just ratifying our contract up here, which was good. We can kind of move on from that, and I can jump into the rest of them that we got going. But I just want to say thank you, Scott, for inviting me to be on the podcast and coming out to speak.
No, it's great. Thank you for joining. And I know this is kind of good because I know from my recent travels up to Thompson and previous travels to Flin Flon how it's difficult for you guys to get to different things face to face, and you're certainly not going to come all the way to Vancouver to sit in Brett's office and do the podcast. So it is kind of good we have the technology that we can have a conversation with you all across or halfway across Canada, and I appreciate you taking the time. Tamara, closing comments.
Comments. Member engagement, number one priority. We need to make our unions fun for people too, right? And make them relevant to what they require. I mean, coming to a monthly meeting, people don't have the time. But so if you can come to one every, second or third month, bring a friend. I've started trying to make the financial reporting a lot more fun, which has gotten very good feedback and a lot of laughs because, talking numbers is boring. But really being open with our membership and welcoming their suggestions as to what they want in their union, I think is really important, because it's, the employers, the bosses tell them what to do all the time. And we as a union shouldn't be doing that. We should be asking them, what do you need? How can we make your lives better? And how can we keep you engaged and involved? So that's really the top priority, that in organizing, because everybody deserves a union, and why not ours, right?
For sure. Yeah, that's great. And, it's bringing a friend. It just reminds me, and this is your local actually, that James, James Gunther, the young guy, and he was the first Fred Girling scholarship, and he was at the Next Gen conference. But I remember saying to him, and how come you got involved in it? He said, well, Kelly made me come to the meeting. And he's, James is now a pretty active in the local. Yeah, he's pretty active. He's involved in the bargaining and
comes to the meetings. Saw him recently. We had certainly a celebration of life for Fred a few weeks ago, and his family, and the hall was packed with politicians, members, retirees, just activists, showing love for Fred and what he did for the community. And so, it was really proud to have James there and meet Fred's family.
Yeah, he got dragged along by Cal. He literally said, Kelly made me come to the meeting, and so now he's totally involved. And the Fred Gerling was a longtime activist and a SOAR president, and really involved in the Stewark Organization of Active Retirees. And it passed last year, but the cool thing is that his family and he was a very political guy too, but his family and the politicians, everything, they wanted to have a celebration of his life in the Union Hall because the Union was such a big part of his life, a big part of their life. And, to Michael's point earlier, like the family, the family was the Union and the political friends, as well as the family and the friends. And so anyway, that was a great event that the local put on. And it was good. Okay. So this is the, season finale of the Strongest Steel podcast, season 1, I guess, episode 12. I think it was a great discussion. Thank you, the three of you, for being on. I think it's great. We get, other folks on, like we had the president of the BC Federation of Labor. We've had the premier of Manitoba on. Last month we had Jim Stanford on, labor economist. But I think it's really best when we get a few people from some locals on, just talking about what's going on in our union and sharing those stories and talking about what we have in common and what we're achieving together with solidarity. So I really do appreciate the three of you coming on. If you got any comments, questions, one of these days we're going to answer questions. Like I've got that in my head, maybe in season 2, questions from listeners, but d3comms@usw.ca, the letter D, the number 3, COMMS@usw.ca. If you got any comments or questions or that you want us to answer or things you want us to talk about, the guy who complains about stuff every time, you don't need to email us again, but other folks can email us and ask some questions. Follow us on social media, USW District 3 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're listening, keep listening. Thank you for joining us for episode 12. Look forward to are we going to say episode 13, or is it going to be season 2, episode 1? I'm looking at Tyler here. We're going to have a meeting about this. Okay, but anyway, thanks for listening, and keep listening. And that's great. We're done.